Okay, so I'm bouncing around in Anchorage in San Remo. Beautiful place, lovely day, but it's blowing, it's gusting over 30 knots. It was forecast to do this, to really come up last night and perhaps peak early this morning, so I was kind of belt and braces last night, ready to have a poor night's sleep, but it was fine, and it's picked up today. I'm going to just show you the conditions outside, and then tell you a little about what I've done about sort of securing my spot. So, going out. Just blowy, it's a beautiful day. I'll try and keep the camera protected so that you can hear my voice. So it's, as soon as I put the camera in the wind, you'll see how windy it is. It's a beautiful spot. I'm reasonably close to the beach. I'm in about between 2.5 and 4.5 meters of water, depending on the tide. I put anchor down. I've put 25 meters of chain on my trusty CQR, and I've put a really long snubber on it. And it seems to be that when I anchored about 30 hours ago, I have not budged an inch, so I'm really pleased, although it's probably at its strongest right now, and because it's at its strongest, it could be that we're going to start to move now, so I'm going to be fairly vigilant right now. So this is our situation. If you can see that, that black dot is where we are. The green is the land, and obviously this is the water. Now it does say that we're in 0.5 meters of water, which is, we just aren't. I had a choice of pulling up on one of the Victoria Park's buoys, but I suspected they were pretty shallow, and I went over and did a bit of a depth test, and at low tide, I think Mendana might have been bouncing off the bottom, especially with the sort of lumpy water that we've got now with the wind, etc. So at this second it's blowing 25, but it's sort of gusting up over 30, and we've got a depth of 4.6. So we're at high tide now, almost dead on high tide. Now I'll just show you downstairs. This is my iPad. It's showing the boat, and I've tracked the boat's movements ever since we anchored about 30 hours ago. Now that ring around the boat is the radius of that ring is the length of my anchor chain. So we've just kind of swung around on the chain, basically depending on what the tide and the wind has been doing. Now, the wind's been directionally fairly consistent, but it was light until yesterday evening. But of course the tide moves the boat around, and the tide's quite strong because it's quite a narrow entrance. We have a trusty wind generator I call Jules because of the wonderful energy that it's putting in. It puts in, especially when it's windy. Right at the moment, with this wind of 20-25 knots, I can run everything on the boat and still be receiving charge into my battery. I can literally have coffee machines, hair dryers, whatever you want going, and I'll still be receiving charge. It's putting a net of, when it's running at about 20 knots of wind, it's putting a net of about 10 amps in. That's over and above what I'm using, and I'm probably using about 10 right now because I've got everything plugged in to take advantage of this wind. Although the batteries aren't full because the wind was fairly light last night, I anticipate in the next 3 or 4 hours the batteries will be totally full, again I'll be able to use what I want. We're getting solar as well because it's sunny, and these are the other boats that are, and there you can see the little orange buoys. That one is a private one, but there's a couple over there, and they are technically, I think too shallow. I think I'd be bouncing off the bottom. Even though there's a big boat over there in what I believe is really shallow water. I did check it by dropping a line and a big shifter on the end of the line until it hit the bottom, and then I measured the distance between the top of the water and the bottom, and it just looked so close to my draft at low tide that I just don't want my keel bouncing on what could be the metal pin that sticks in the piece of cement, which is the base of the buoy. I just don't want that. So I've decided to go it alone, and so far it's working okay. And I actually think this is, I've learned along the way, and this is the best I've anchored ever in terms of choice of anchorage with the wind, and in terms of technically how I've done it as well. Length of chain and the length of the snubber rope I've put on, which makes the movements very gentle. Wow, that's strong. See what that is? It's 27 yards, 28, 30, there you go. 30 knots it was. So it's gusting to 30, but technically it's about 20, 25, nearer 25. So there you are, a little bit about Mendana's Anchorage. The boring thing is that I wanted to paddle in, and yeah, I could. It would be hard to go for a walk and stretch my legs, but I'm kind of stuck on the boat today because of the wind. I'm just a bit concerned. The wind generator Jules is new, and when I wired it with accidentally with too small gauge wire, which technically means that it could overheat, although I have put in smaller fuses than recommended. So that funny noise that you might be able to hear from time to time, that's the regulator of the wind generator saying too much energy going to batteries, I'm going to divert some and dump it. So, and it dumps it by putting it into a dump resistor, it's called, which effectively is a device that burns the energy and just dissipates it in heat. So learnt a lot along the way, and yeah, so there we are. But what I will do when I get back to base is I will change all that wire for the correct gauge, and then I can up the fuses, and I don't have to worry about the wind generator, and it can just do what it does. However, it is behaving extraordinarily well, and I keep feeling the wires and they're not warm, and the regulator seems to be doing its job really well. Talk to you soon.